That's clickbait, huh? Alright. I guess anything else? I get sued all the time. Y'all, stop it.
New drama tonight involving a controversial politician in the south suburbs. Tiffany Henyard was the only Thornton Township leader to...
We've all seen the political drama unfold. But what happened with Mayor Tiffany Henyard takes things to an entirely new level. Picture this: the mayor getting arrested right in the middle of a meeting after sparking total chaos, and authorities having to physically remove her. That's exactly what went down during the latest Dalton Village Board meeting. What began as just another routine gathering quickly turned into a scene so intense it could rival the wildest TV shows. And this wasn't fiction. This was happening. Live in Dalton, Illinois. Yes, you read that correctly. The situation got so out of hand that the live broadcast was cut off midstream. What followed was pure pandemonium, leaving both viewers and attendees in stunned silence. Mayor Tiffany Henyard, no stranger to controversy, has had a tense relationship with the village trustees for months now. If you've been keeping up with local news, you know that the ongoing friction has been fueled by everything from decisions and appointments to policy disagreements. But this particular meeting? It took a shocking turn no one could have predicted. The drama erupted over some questionable spending by the mayor, sending shockwaves through the community. Eyewitnesses described the tension in the room as thick, enough to cut with a knife. It felt as if everyone there could sense something big was about to unfold. The board had moved the meeting to the local Park District building to accommodate the large crowds that had been showing up, turning these gatherings into events people couldn't miss. Village Hall just couldn't hold the surge of citizens, some there out of genuine concern for the town's future, others seemingly drawn by the drama surrounding the mayor's political chaos. From the start, Mayor Henyard had no interest in sticking to the usual meeting protocol. She tossed the rulebook aside and acted with a level of defiance and flair that could have easily been pulled straight from a reality TV show. The stage was set, and the political saga of Dalton played out in full force. Tensions between the mayor and trustees were at a breaking point. At this meeting, it seemed Henyard was more focused on putting on a show for the crowd than addressing any real issues. It was clear she had no intention of following the typical norms of governance. The big question on everyone's mind: was this a calculated power move, or simply another example of her refusal to play by the rules of leadership? Either way, the spectacle left many residents wondering if her leadership was even sustainable, especially as the town grappled with growing challenges. Once a peaceful community, Dalton was now better known for its political drama than its ability to tackle real problems. Henyard's controversial leadership only made the situation worse, and the public was left wondering if the town would ever be able to resolve its issues. While the mayor seemed to thrive in the chaos, what was once a routine village meeting had now become a symbol of Dalton's dysfunction. With her unpredictable behavior pushing the town further into crisis, the central concern became whether the mayor was still capable of leading effectively. As her actions grew more erratic, residents questioned her priorities and whether the spectacle had overshadowed her ability to govern. It was becoming increasingly clear that the political drama in Dalton wasn't going anywhere. With each passing meeting, the mayor's grip on power seemed more tenuous, and the future of the town hung in the balance.
To lead to more questions, and sometimes we don't get answers to those questions, and so it's not about clickbait, it's about just making...
Instead of attending the scheduled meeting with the trustees at the Park District building, Mayor Tiffany Henyard made a bold, controversial move. She held her own meeting back at Village Hall. It was a defiant gesture, almost as if she wanted to remind everyone that she was still in charge, running things her way, no matter what anyone else thought. However, things didn't go according to plan. What followed was enough to make anyone want to run for cover. Only 2 trustees showed up to her impromptu gathering, far short of the EBD. Quorum needed to legally conduct a meeting. Without a quorum, Henyard had no choice but to cancel her self-declared session. It was a major setback for someone trying to assert dominance, but Henyard wasn't ready to back down. Determined to make her presence felt, she jumped into her car and drove straight to the Park District building, where the trustees were continuing their meeting without her. What happened next was nothing short of dramatic. Henyard stormed into the meeting, disrupting the proceedings and drawing all eyes to herself. What would have been an intense but functional gathering quickly spiraled into chaos as her unexpected entrance stole the spotlight. "Hello, hello," she proclaimed, causing a stir among the trustees and attendees alike. Once again, Dalton's political theater was in full swing. The room, already thick with tension, erupted into confusion as Henyard took center stage, refusing to play by anyone else's rules. Her dramatic entrance only underscored her leadership style, one defined by disruption and defiance. It left many in the room and the community at large wondering if Dalton's political drama would ever come to an end. As the dust began to settle, the situation worsened. The growing divide between Henyard and the trustees became even more apparent, with the town's residents caught in the middle of an escalating power struggle. To make matters worse, a temporary, restraining order had been issued against Henyard, preventing her from making certain appointments without the board's approval. This legal complication only further isolated her from the very government she was supposed to lead. When Henyard entered the room, the tension spiked instantly. An electric charge rippled through the crowd, with residents visibly reacting to her unexpected appearance. Many were exasperated by her antics and controversial leadership style, and their frustration was evident. Some attendees even turned their backs on her as she entered, a silent yet powerful gesture of disapproval that spoke louder than words. Undeterred, Henyard approached the microphone with an air of defiance, proclaiming, "I am the mayor of the village of Dalton," as if to reassert her authority in a room that clearly wasn't having it. But before she could continue, her outburst was met with a wave of resentment. The crowd's reaction only deepened the rift between her and the trustees, further isolating her from the very people she was meant to serve. Far from strengthening her position, this incident only widened the divide within Dalton's government, leaving the town on edge and wondering how this political drama would ultimately unfold. The room exploded with boos and shouts, drowning out Henyard's declaration with a wall of sound fueled by anger, frustration, and sheer exhaustion. The uproar was immediate and unrelenting, a visceral reaction from residents who felt ignored, misled, and increasingly burdened by the fallout of Henyard's controversial tenure. Her attempt to commandeer the meeting only inflamed the already volatile situation. With attendees openly challenging her presence and motives, it was clear they were fed up. What had started as an ordinary trustees' meeting quickly devolved into a chaotic spectacle, with Henyard at the center, a polarizing figure whose actions seemed only to widen the vast gulf between her and the people she claimed to represent. Tattoo. Room became a battleground of words and gestures, highlighting the escalating frustrations of a community desperate for accountability and effective leadership. Henyard's dramatic entrance and the crowd's hostile response underscored just how much trust had eroded under her administration. Many were left wondering if reconciliation or resolution was even possible. As Dalton continued to grapple with its deepening divisions amidst the chaos, the temporary restraining order served as a stark reminder of her weakening position. It blocked her from making key appointments without the board's approval, further intensifying the tension and pushing the mayor even closer to the edge. Witnesses recalled a scene of pure chaos as Henyard tried to take control of the volatile meeting, only to have her efforts drowned out by shouting, boos, and overwhelming public disapproval. Determined to assert her authority, she attempted to speak over the uproar, demanding respect and declaring the meeting itself illegal. Her goal, she loudly proclaimed, was to make key appointments, including naming a new police chief. But her words were lost in the deafening clamor of an audience that was clearly uninterested in anything she had to say. The tension in the room became unbearable as Henyard struggled to maintain her composure. The noise, frustration, and outright hostility proved insurmountable. She lasted only 7 minutes before being forced to leave the room, effectively booed out by the very people she claimed to serve. What followed was pure pandemonium. Henyard stormed out of the building, visibly enraged by the crowd's rejection. The situation quickly spiraled out of control as reports began circulating that Henyard, incensed by the public humiliation, had allegedly gotten physical with one of the officials present. This altercation only added fuel to the fire, escalating the already volatile atmosphere and raising tensions to an all-time high. Police, who had been strategically stationed nearby in anticipation of trouble, quickly intervened to restore order. But what happened next shocked everyone present. Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the self-declared supermayor of Dalton, Illinois, was arrested. The arrest marked an astonishing turn of events, the culmination of a meeting that had started with high stakes and ended in dramatic consequences. Residents watched in disbelief as Henyard, once a polarizing figure who had positioned herself as a beacon of leadership, was led away in handcuffs. Her attempt to reclaim control of the narrative had been undone by the sheer weight of public dissent and her own actions. The fallout from the incident left the community reeling, serving as a stark reminder of the deep divisions and mounting tensions that had come to define Henyard's controversial tenure. What had begun as an ordinary town meeting had spiraled into an all-out political spectacle. With Henyard at the center, her leadership aspirations crumbled under the weight of her own conduct. The once powerful mayor, who had built a career on defiance and bold moves, now found herself facing the consequences of her own actions. The political drama surrounding Dalton's leadership is far from over. This moment, almost cinematic in its absurdity, will be etched into the town's history as a harsh reminder of how quickly a leader's power can dissolve when trust is shattered and political theatrics overshadow the responsibility of governance. A fall from grace, marked by public spectacle, left many wondering what would come next for Dalton and whether the damage caused by Henyard's leadership could ever be repaired. The live broadcast of the meeting was abruptly cut off when Henyard was taken into custody. The image of a sitting mayor being dragged out of her own meeting in handcuffs seemed more like a scripted drama, but this was very much real life. To understand what led to this dramatic arrest, we need to step back and look at the bigger picture. This moment didn't come out of nowhere. It was the culmination of months, if not years, of escalating tension, chaos, and outright defiance from Henyard. From the moment she took office, Henyard made waves in Dalton, constantly pushing boundaries and making decisions that left many in the community shaking their heads. Her tenure had been marked by one controversy after another. Whether it was clashing with trustees, ignoring legal orders, or making appointments without board approval, Henyard made it abundantly clear that she intended to run things her way, regardless of who stood in her path. Take, for example, the time she appointed a new village manager, village attorney, and police chief, all without the board's approval. These were major decisions, ones that should have been made through collaboration with the board, as local government procedures dictate. But Henyard ignored these procedures, acting as if the rules didn't apply to her. The trustees, understandably frustrated by her blatant disregard for procedure, took the matter to court. a judge intervened, issuing a restraining order that made it crystal clear that Henyard could not make those appointments without the board's approval. Yet, did she listen? Of course not. Henyard's defiance continued, setting the stage for the explosive events that ultimately led to her dramatic arrest. Henyard, ever the self-proclaimed super-mayor, has a long history of pushing boundaries and testing the limits of her authority. The restraining order was just another line she crossed without hesitation, fueling her growing reputation as a leader more focused on holding on to power than adhering to the law. At one point, there was even talk of holding her in contempt of court for continually ignoring the legal process. Her efforts to consolidate power have earned her more enemies than allies in Dalton. It's not just the trustees who are fed up with her. The residents are too. The people of Dalton have watched, growing increasingly frustrated as Henyard's leadership shifted from being about the community's well-being to serving a personal agenda every step of the way. It seemed Henyard was more interested in maintaining her grip on power than collaborating with the people she was elected to serve. This growing dissatisfaction only deepened when rumors about financial mismanagement began to swirl. Whispers of Henyard's alleged misuse of public funds spread through the town, and reports of lavish spending and questionable taxpayer-funded trips painted a picture of a leader more concerned with self-interest than serving Dalton's citizens. A complete lack of transparency about where public money was going was becoming increasingly clear. Henyard's leadership style was leading Dalton further into chaos. Despite these rumors, she continued to posture as the people's mayor, rallying her supporters on social media with calls for solidarity. In one post, she wrote, "I need all my black sheep to stand with me. You are not alone. If God is for us, who could be against us?" It was as if she saw herself as a hero in this story, fighting against a corrupt system that was out to get her. She framed herself as a victim of an unjust political machine, adopting a siege mentality. However, this rhetoric only alienated her from the very people she needed to win over. Residents, growing increasingly disillusioned with her leadership, could see the cracks in her narrative. As her behavior became more erratic and her power grabs more obvious, tensions with the trustees escalated. The final straw came when Henyard tried to assert control over village affairs during a meeting already charged with frustration. After attempting to hold her own meeting without the necessary quorum and failing, Henyard stormed into the trustees' meeting at the Park District building. Uninvited and dramatic as ever, her entrance immediately caused chaos, disrupting the proceedings and turning what was meant to be a productive session into a spectacle. Henyard's refusal to adhere to the EB rules only fueled the growing disdain for her leadership. Her insistence on making key appointments without following due process and her continued defiance of legal orders added to the already palpable anger among the trustees and residents. What followed was pure pandemonium. Henyard's attempt to dominate the meeting was met with boos and shouts from an increasingly hostile crowd. The reality surrounding Tiffany Henyard's political career is far more complicated than it appears, and the situation is rapidly deteriorating. While she has managed to retain some supporters, the tide is clearly turning against her. The residents of Dalton are fed up. The trustees are done with her constant power plays. Even the courts are stepping in. Henyard finds herself fighting a battle on all fronts, and at this point, it's hard to see how she'll make it through. Her leadership has come under intense scrutiny, especially when it comes to the village's finances. Rumors have surfaced suggesting that both Dalton and Thorntown Township are now part of a federal investigation into Henyard's alleged misuse of public funds. It's not just the FBI that's getting involved. Things are heating up at the state level as well. Leaked documents have revealed questionable spending, particularly on taxpayer-funded trips with no clear purpose. We're talking about thousands of dollars spent on travel accommodations and possibly more, all paid for with public funds. With the FBI now investigating, it's clear that something doesn't add up, and the situation is quickly escalating beyond what anyone could have anticipated. Henyard, however, seems to be in denial about the mounting evidence. She continues to brush off the allegations as nothing more than attacks from her enemies. One fan on social media even quipped, "I suppose she'd be saying it's only clickbait and fake news when she's in court again," which encapsulates Henyard's tendency to dismiss everything as a conspiracy against her. But the evidence against her is growing harder to ignore. One fan even pointed out her criminal history, recalling that Henyard was arrested in 2016 for breaking into cars. While it's impossible to confirm the extent of her past legal troubles, it's undeniable that her reputation has been far from spotless. She's been in hot water before, and now, it seems, she's found herself in the middle of another major controversy. The question on everyone's mind is whether this is the end of the line for Tiffany Henyard. Can she somehow bounce back from this, or is her political career irreparably damaged? Only time will tell. But as the situation continues to unfold, it's clear her path forward is becoming increasingly uncertain. With the public losing patience and legal pressures mounting, she may not be able to weather the storm this time. This political saga is far from over, and we'll be watching closely to see what happens next. As always, let us know your thoughts in the comments below.